All right, good evening. I want to welcome everybody. I want to start off by introducing the members of the planning board that are here. We've got Eric McEnroe, Bill Kruger, Nathan Roy, Tony Robustelli, John DeSanopoulos, and I think that's it. Oh, be clear, I'm sorry, Pete. And we have with us also tonight the attorney Dave Everett, our consultants Julie Manuela, George James, Marianne Johnson, and Dr. Michael Clements, who were the consultants who worked on the project with us throughout the entire time period that we've been at this. There are some rules in place tonight for the public comment period. Everybody should have signed up if you want to make a comment. If you haven't signed up, there's a sheet being passed around now that you can put your name on if you want to make a comment. And we'll be bringing people up to make those comments in the order in which they signed up. We ask you to direct your comments to the planning board members and not to the public. That's the purpose of this meeting, to inform the planning board members as to what concerns are, or pros or cons, either way. So if you could just address the planning board members and leave it at that, we'd appreciate it. Questions are acceptable, but they won't be answered tonight necessarily. We're going to leave the option open to silo should they decide that they want to answer some questions later on. They'll be able to do that. If the planning board members deem it necessary to speak to a matter, we'll also do that, but we won't necessarily get involved in a question and answer session with anybody. Comments are going to be limited to 3 minutes because of the number of people that we've got here. That should be enough time. That's a fairly common time frame used in a lot of public hearings, so we'll see how that goes. It should be all right. When you make your comments, please consider comments that have already been made. Once the planning board has been informed about a particular matter a number of times and keep repeating it, it'll let us know that there's more people that are concerned about that particular issue or support that particular issue, but it's not necessary to speak on that matter for a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So just give that consideration if you could. And silo staff will be directed after the meeting. If there are questions that the planning board feels need to be answered, they'll be directed to write written responses to those answers, to those questions, and then those will be circulated to the public after the meeting, after we've had time to come up with the responses. And after the public hearing's been completed, the planning board is going to make a determination as to what happens from here. We've got 3 options, basically. We can close the hearing at that time. We can keep the hearing open, or we can close the oral part of the hearing and allow for submission of written comment. That'll be decided at the end of this meeting after we've seen what these people have to say. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the silo staff. They're going to go ahead and make a presentation, probably a half hour or so. Pedro? Yes. About a half hour? Okay. Then after that meeting, or after that presentation, the planning board members will come up front, and we'll pull the screen up. We've got a table set up back here, and we'll go ahead and start the public comment part. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It looks like we got a great turnout. First, I would actually like to thank the planning board for a lot of work that has been done over the last, 8 months, as well as the consultant team. I think they helped us quite a bit in making sure that our application was complete, and they had a lot of great comments, and we were able to, I think, redesign this job to something that's much better than the previous application. For some of who might know me, my name is Pedro Torres. I've been involved with Silo Ridge now since 2005. So I'm going to start a little bit with history of the project. So the project actually started back in 2003. We had our original application along with the scoping document, which lasted almost 2 years. Once the scoping document was deemed complete, that's where our draft environmental impact statement started. Essentially, it was the start of the environmental impact process. At that point, I think we had hired Robert Stern, who did the original application. We spent several years finalizing all of the studies that were done. Ultimately, we had our final EIS, and we received our master development plan and special use permit in June 2009. At that time, the market had changed drastically, so we took a few years where we sat still and waited for the market to change. A couple years ago, 2012, Discovery Land Company was trying to expand into the Northeast. They're mainly out of the West Coast. And they fell in love with the property. We spent about a year working together prior to finalizing a partnership in 2013. What attracted us to Discovery Land Company was they share our core values, and most importantly, they share the vision for our project. By 2012, both of our families have moved up here. We were living up here in this area, so we wanted to make sure we had a partner that shared our vision and could develop what we wanted to develop here. With that said, I want to introduce Dan O'Callaghan from Discovery, who will tell you a little bit more about their company.
Dan O'Callaghan. Thank you. Thanks for having us. As Pedro said, I'm with Discovery Land Company, and I'll put our mission up on the board here so you can read it while I'm speaking. But I kind of consider I get to do the fun part. My role as the director of sales for Discovery Land Company, I've been with the company for 9 years. And there's 3 other people on my staff up here full time, one of whom is here, Owen O'Connell, another Irishman, Dan O'Connell and McGee, sounds like an Irish law firm. Owen, to give you a little bit of background on us, I grew up, and some of you here at the last meeting, so I'm sorry if I'm boring you with repeating my boring background, but anyway, I'm from Crotona, Bedford, New York, where I grew up and was raised, and as I said, I've been with Discovery for 9 years. I started in 2005 at a project in the Bahamas called Baker's Bay, and I lived there for 4 years, and every time I say that to people, they say, what are you doing here now? And I say, well, because it's better. And I say that because this is A, where I'm from, and B, it's where I can raise a family. And as wonderful as Baker's Bay was, living in the Bahamas, it's not reality, and this is just a wonderful place to live and grow up, and I can't wait to have my kids grow up in this environment and share Silo Ridge with them. But anyway, back to my other colleagues. Owen O'Connell, who's here tonight. Owen, raise your hand and say hello. Owen was born and raised in Ireland, shockingly, and has a pretty predominant golf background. Went to Wake Forest on a golf scholarship. Played on the 1989 winning Walker Cup team for Great Britain and Ireland. Went undefeated. I think tied Phil Mickelson in the singles. Played the European Tour for a couple of years. Andrew McGee, who's not here, played in the PGA Tour for 25 years, won 4 times, won over $10 million. I'm the pathetic one. I played tour professional golf for about 2 years, made about $12, so decided to find a real job. So anyway, it's obviously a very golf-focused company, Discovery Land Company, but that's only one part of our business, and I think it's actually becoming a smaller part of our business as we expand into a family atmosphere and family environment. Discovery we're growing. I think we're up to 17 clubs now. And the company was founded by a gentleman by the name of Mike Melvin, who you'll all meet at some point over the next several years. In about 1994, 1995, Mike was a single dad, still is, with 2 boys that at the time were about 8 and 9 years old. He was in the development business, and he said, I'm traveling all over the world, and I'm doing these wonderful clubs. He said, how do I make my kids want to spend time with me? And that single idea launched a business that has been incredibly successful, that will do $1 billion in real estate sales in 2014 alone. And what I mean by that is he created a program called Outdoor Pursuits. And Outdoor Pursuits was based on the idea that parents want to spend time with their children, especially when they're on vacation and at their vacation homes or wherever they are. And so Mike said, look, let's create an environment at these clubs where my kids want to be there as much as I do. And we will immerse them in, and I'm speaking of Silo Ridge, horseback riding, fishing, archery, golf, skiing, tennis, so that his boys, every time they went to Iron Horse in Montana, were out wakeboarding, and they'd come home exhausted, while Mike could do work, and and they get together at dinner at night, and the kids say, "Dad, look, I don't want to go home." And that has proven to be the single most successful aspect of Discovery Land Company, is that this environment of family that Mike has so successfully created in these clubs, and that's really what we focus on. So, to give you a little bit of geography, the first club was in Scottsdale, Arizona, called Estancia, and grew from there. We went to Montana to Iron Horse, and then to Hawaii, the Big Island, for Kukio. So most of the clubs really started on the West Coast. We've slowly gravitated east. The first one we did on the East Coast was in North Carolina, called Mountaintop, and then Baker's Bay, and now obviously working our way up in the Northeast for Silo Ridge. But as I said, with the combination of the 16 clubs, this year in 2014, thankfully we've seen a great recovery in the economy. The company will do $1 billion in real estate sales this year. A few images from some of the clubs and what I was speaking to earlier. These are some of the special places that we create, whether they're in Idaho or Montana or the Bahamas or skiing at the Yellowstone Club. They are places where people want to spend special times with their family. And the one thing, it's interesting, we've gone through some pretty trying times over the last 15 years in our lives, whether you consider 9/11 or, the economic recession we faced over the last couple of years. And I think it forced us all to re-examine our priorities and reconsider our investments. And in an interesting way, Discovery has benefited from those terrible experiences that we've all gone through, because people now are investing in family more than ever, and we provide a platform more than any other vacation destination for that. I've asked so many people that are very successful, that have bought into our properties, what's the one thing that a guy like you is missing, or a girl like you is missing in your life? And they all say, it's time with my kids and it's time with family. It's not money, it's not material things. And so I'm kind of hammering that thought home, but that's really what Discovery Land Company is all about. And I think when Silo Ridge is complete, several years from now, I think the community is going to be so proud of what is here and the attention to detail that we put into not only the buildings, but all of the amenities and the staffing. It's incredible. Like I said, I've been with the company now for 9 years, and I'm surprised every day at how amazing and how, to use a kid term, how cool these clubs are. And I can't wait to share it with all of you as you see the club grow. And I think it's something that the community will be very, very proud of. With that, I will introduce Jim Tinson from Hart Howerton, our design and architecture firm, who is maybe not as Irish as the sales team, but certainly better looking. So,
Thanks, Sam. It's a pleasure to be here again and to be speaking with you all about a place that's very special to me. It's very special to our firm, as I know it's obviously very special to you all. Okay. Just a little bit about myself. My name again is Jim Tinson. I'm the CEO of Hart Howerton. We're the architects, planners, landscape architects, as Sam said, for Silo Ridge. My firm is based right here in New York, down in the city, and I live in southern Westchester County. I get the chance, Dan talked about some spectacular projects that Discovery's done around the country. I get the privilege of working, had the privilege in my firm of working on a number of those projects from Hawaii to the East Coast. And that really, in a lot of ways, represents the type of work that we do as a firm and what our commitment is. I get the privilege of working in some of the most spectacular pieces of land in the world, truly unique places. And we get to work in environments that really require innovative solutions. And when I say innovative, I mean a unique approach, a special approach that says it's not a cookie cutter or formulaic solution for any piece of land or any particular location. It's about really understanding what's unique about a site, about how you capture that, both from the land as well as the culture, the history, the environment that we're working in. And so we speak in terms of complete environments. We think about how to create these seamless places that we all enjoy spending time in, the kind of places that we want in our communities, and that they become legacies in those communities. And so our projects, what we're committed to doing, and the efforts that we do with Discovery and with the whole team here, is thinking through how to ensure that we're going to create successful ventures, because you all want a place that's going to be successful here in your community. And particularly Dan talked about what happened over the last several years and the recession and everything that we've fought through. We've all seen plenty of projects that don't happen. We've seen deals blow up. We get the privilege, fortunately, of working on those environments that do happen. We create places together, not projects, but places that are successful and they last, and they do become legacies in your community. So that's how we approach this from the beginning. When we took a look at this land, it's always a treat for me to be able to work someplace close to home. And as Dan showed, if you looked at those images from Dan's slides, these different Discovery projects, you didn't see a formula and you didn't see places that all look the same. Every one of those fit their site, they fit their land, they fit their context. A project in Baker's Bay doesn't look anything like something that Discovery might do in the Bahamas. It certainly doesn't look like anything we do in this really unique and special part of New York. So we, from the beginning, started with how do we take advantage of this extraordinary place, this extraordinary landscape? And let's make sure that what we do here fits as sensitively as possible to that land. And so as we went through our effort here, sort of envisioning what that should be today, what that should be in this economy and in the economy as we move into the future. We worked within the development constraints defined within the existing entitlements, but we also saw an opportunity to actually do something that would reduce density, fit lighter on the land, have less environmental impacts, eliminate the need for height waivers, but at the same time, in the process of doing that, deliver something that would fit more comfortably in your community and also be more marketable and successful as a real estate venture, because at the end, ultimately, we've got to make sure this works. So we incorporated all of that thinking, and that became the core of our vision. At the heart, similar to the existing entitlements, at the heart of that vision is our village. It's our village core and our village green, where a series of condominiums and houses are grouped together around a central gathering place. Dan talked about time with family, and he talked about those places that families of multiple generations come together. This is the heart of it here, our village green. It's a beautiful garden set in this landscape on the flattest part of the site, right there in the middle of the property. And around it then, we've grouped all those different things that are going to start to bring people together here. The club, multiple residents, our lodging units that happen here towards the core, our fitness center here at Pool. These range of different facilities to host and support year-round activities, because this is a four-season club. It's a four-season environment for families. And so we're going to have activities here that we're going to be able to host people, host members year-round on that property. That's framed by architecture that belongs here, that feels like it belongs here, that's rooted in the traditions, the materials, and the culture of this area. So we're drawing on, you see the use of natural materials, you see the use of real stone, the proportions of these buildings that feel like they sit and they belong in the site. We design buildings that fit within a landscape, not buildings that we landscape around. And those buildings need to feel like they came right out of the ground. You drive through your neighborhoods, you drive through your village, and you see a place that feels like it belongs here. That's what a real, authentic place is, and that's in the spirit, and that's at the core of every decision we've made as we've envisioned this place. So from our clubhouse to the way our fitness center sits gracefully on the site, becomes a gathering spot for people in the club. You see that palette, you see those materials that we use there. We've also got a beautiful pond on the property, our lake. That's the spot for fishing, as Dan says. It's going to be a place that you go and you want to spend your evenings. You want to sit by the lakeside and be there. So we've also located what we call our family barn That happens right there on the edge of that pond. That's a gathering spot with beautiful lawn that spills down to the lake, sitting very sensitively next to that. Again, the place for multi-generational activities, the place for people to come together. But you see the materials, you see the palette, and you see the commitment to quality. And I think through this entire process, whether it's in the way we organize the land, the way we think about how we design streets so that we minimize the amount of site work we have to do, how we locate home sites for people to live in here in a way that minimizes grading, so we don't have to, so we minimize the amount of impact that we can possibly have on that land. And then we design buildings then to sit within those settings. Every piece of this feels like it comes from the site itself. We've got great ideas for our general store that's going to happen there, which is part of our sales center. Just from the point of arrival, that sense of coming in someplace that's special. It really is a retreat. It's a bucolic retreat that fits in the setting. It is in the great tradition of those types of environments that have happened throughout this region. And of course, we've got great places for people to live, that they're going to come and they're going to want to stay and spend time with their families. I talked about making sure, particularly today, that you're introducing a marketable mix of real estate into a place, again, ensuring that this is going to be a legacy property that lasts year after year, generation after generation. We have a mix of residential types on this. We're going to have single-family homes for those who want to be within a few steps of our village green. We're going to have our beautiful condos, which are scaled in proportions more like a house out on the site. We're going to have estates that are set on the hillside in very limited building envelopes, sit within the trees, sitting within those sites out on the property so that we protect and enhance the natural environment that we're working in. So we're excited about Silo Ridge. Hopefully you can see our enthusiasm for the kind of special place that we're creating and the commitment that we all share to do something that's going to be special. And we look forward to spending time with you in the years to come and being part of your community. As Dan said, there's nothing better than having a place nearby that you can spend time with your family. And I'm looking forward to doing the same thing with my 3 kids and having them here enjoying your community in Silo Ridge. So thanks for having us today. I'm going to turn it back over to Pedro, who's going to get into a little bit more of the detail of the plan and our proposal.
He's always sneaking up. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to try to summarize what a lot of our applications, which are probably thousands of pages, of how the project compares to our old approval and how our impacts get summarized. So if we compare it against our 2009 amended MDP, the total square footage that you've seen went down from 1.4 million square feet down to 985,000. Our hotel units went down from 300 units down to 21 units. Our residential units went down from 338 down to 224. Discovery uses some fascio in pretty much all of our clubs. So regrettably, we went with Tom, but Vernon used to be our old golf course. We're still maintaining our open space. Before we had 536 acres, we're actually increasing it to 540. One of the great things about the new plan is we don't require any height waivers. The old plan actually required 16 height waivers. Some of the buildings were in excess of 70 feet. So that was a big undertaking. And then one of the key factors everybody's been asking is the tax revenue surplus. From 4.3 million in the old plan down to 8.9 million. A lot of people have asked, how can you reduce density and have your surplus go up? And part of the main answer to that is 90% of the units in the past are condominium units. New York state law assesses the condos at 50% of their assessed value. So when we reduce our density, even only using construction cost numbers, our overall market value of all the property is drastically higher. So how does that 8.9 million break down? So we have 5.9 million in surplus going to Weebatuck School. We have 1.7 million surplus going to Dutchess County. $240,000 go to the Minia Fire District. That includes the Wassaic Fire Department as well as the Minia Fire Department. And 1.1 million goes to the town of Minia. Again, all of these numbers are extremely conservative given that we're using construction cost numbers and not actual sales market value for the units. Employment will generate 125 full-time employees upon full build-out. We'll have 75 part-time employees essentially throughout the summer and fall. And that will generate an additional indirect 19 employees. During construction, the project's estimated to generate 3,100 employees. That includes indirect and indirect. That number came from Dutchess County Planning Department. And as well as an annual expenditure of $3.3 million by salaried residents within the community. So our environmental commitment. I think in the past we've worked extremely hard to make sure that we had a pretty good environmental commitment given the size of the job that we're doing. I think we've been able to even do a better job this time. So our disturbance has gone down from 283 acres down to 263 acres. I believe that's a reduction of 15 acres. Our steep slope disturbance went from 136 down to 114. That includes reduction on disturbance of natural and forested steep slopes from 78 acres down to 66 acres. We've been able to also reduce the disturbance to natural wetlands. In the new project, we're actually not disturbing any of the natural wetlands in the site. Our water demand, of course, given that our project has reduced in density, has gone down drastically. We still implement and lead leadership in energy environmental design. A lot of people know it as LEED in a lot of our amenity buildings. We're still committed to our dark sky lighting standards, which will minimize the pollution of light. And we still actually think the new plan incorporates a lot more natural colors and materials and palettes into the architecture, which will also help minimize our visual impact in the future. Another big document that you guys will review will be the habitat management plan. This was it's a fairly elaborate document. It was a document that was prepared in collaboration by Dr. Carl Strauss, a PhD, Lisa Stanley, PhD, and Dr. Michael Clemens. This document essentially reviews and incorporates how we're going to handle all the ecological resources of this site, including the preservation of open space. It puts a lot of emphasis on water quality, including how we're going to manage buffers greater than 30%. The new plan, we've been able to increase those in natural habitats from 83 to 99% of the existing natural water bodies are going to be buffered. And of the constructed habitat, which means most of the ponds and streams reaching the golf course, we've actually increased it from 27% up to 68% from the old plan to the new one. The habitat management plan also incorporates 2 restoration projects along the Cascade Amenia Brook, which are essentially the area you can see from 22 into our property. Another 2 documents that are integrated into the habitat management plan include the natural resource management plan as well as the integrated pest management. Those 2 documents were prepared by Audubon International. They meet their silver certification, and it will include their continuous management during construction and post-construction and supervision by Audubon. So now we're going to get into a little more detail with engineering, so I'm going to have Amanda De Cesare from VHB, our engineer, give you a little more detail on this.
De Cesare, by the way, but I still have Irish in me. Good evening, everyone. Amanda De Cesare, project manager for VHB on the project. So I know a lot of concern is, with regard to the environmental commitment, is how are we protecting the environment? And the first step is to have a master development SWIP. SWIP is a stormwater management pollution prevention plan. It's required as part of the DEC regulations. The entire project is designed in compliance with the latest standards. We've revisited the project from the old, which was the general permit 02, we're now into general permit 010 standards. And what goes into the SWIP? The two most important things: soil and erosion control, water quality and quantity control. Your soil and erosion control are basically your steep slope protection. You need to stabilize your steep slopes. Yes, we build on them. It's not out of order to build on them. We do need to disturb some of our steep slopes. As you've seen, though, the plan has minimized the steep slope disturbance. In fact, we've actually removed a significant number of houses off of steep slopes. We went from the approved 95 houses on steep slopes to 76. We protect the water courses, the stream banks and the surface water. It's the runoff. It's the water coming down the hill. It's the pollution from the roadways getting into your streams, your wetlands, the Amenia Cascade Brook. And we protect the water that leaves the site. The water quantity and quality control components of the project, we're meeting them. We're above and beyond the actual required water quality volume of 33.9 acre feet. We're providing 39.93 acre feet, but that's our minimum that we're providing. There are a lot of additional green infrastructure practices that we're not taking into account because some of the lot configurations aren't complete, and there are a lot of additional practices that we can install and we will promote in order to further incur additional water quality. And I'll go on a little further with the next slide. As part of the original commitment, the project said they would meet the East of Hudson standards. I'm sure most people don't know what that is, but basically if you're in the East of Hudson watershed, which Amenia is not, this project is not, but the owners have committed to meeting that standard. It's on the order of 4 times the amount of water quality that your standard project would have to provide. So they, in good faith and to protect the Hills pondweed, are actually over-providing water quality on the project site. Additionally, as part of your DEC requirements, you're not allowed to let more water flow off your site than is currently. It's a no net increase. We do have a reduction of the peak discharge for each of the storm events that you would analyze from the 1 year through the 100-year storm. So going back to what I was saying about the water quality that we're providing, there's something called runoff reduction volume, and this is a new component, a fairly new component of the DEC requirements. It basically tells you, look at all your green infrastructure. Consider how much you can do with your site. So first you consider your site. Well, what can I preserve? You look at the conservation of natural area. We have 464 acres. This is not what we're considering open space. This is actually what we're preserving. And it's the majority of the project around. It's basically the area outside of our project. There's area here, there's area to the south and to the north that we're not disturbing. The habitat management plan emphasizes on buffers. Well, there are 30-foot, 50-foot, and 100-foot buffers that are being protected. And as Pedro commented on, we are going from 63 to 99? 63 to 99% on the natural. So that means your wetland, your Amenia Cascade Brook, those are the natural, your wetland J, that's all the natural wetlands on site that we're continuing to protect. Other green infrastructure are vegetated open swales. The roadways that are shown in orange they're all designed with swales to capture that stormwater runoff, clean it, infiltrate it, and then it continues on to the next stormwater practice, whether it be capturing in the closed system and then discharging to our major detention pond, which is our irrigation pond and Green Island Pond, which we're combining. There is stream daylighting. We have stream daylighting occurring at our stream NP. And the site is using porous pavement where possible. We have our lot using urban green plastic pavers. Our trail from what we call our Road C right now to the pump station is using the same pavers. And then down here at the maintenance facility, that's an overflow parking, that also will have the green pavers. But in addition to all of these design components that are in the plan right now, each of the houses, the estate lots especially, they'll be custom designed. So there are components that each homeowner can implement when they're completing their construction. There's the disconnection of rooftop runoff. So instead of having your roof leaders go into the ground and infiltrate, you have them disperse over land. It's another form of cleaning the water. Tree planting. The site will contain many trees. We have an extensive landscape plan that Hart Harrington has put together. But additionally, there will be landscaping on each property. A cistern is basically a collection of water. The stormwater... Sorry, guys. The stormwater management basin, the major central one, it acts as a cistern because it's an irrigation pond that's returning the water. But additionally, each individual homeowner can use a cistern on their property. And all of these components will be promoted by the Homeowners Association, as well as rain garden. So it's great to say I'm designing something, but what happens after I design it? The paper comes in, it's stamped, it's approved. Well, you have both your during construction and your post-construction maintenance, and during the construction, the DEC requires that when you're disturbing greater than 5 acres at any one time, you have bi-weekly inspections. So right now, currently with the golf course construction going on, we do have bi-weekly inspections being done, as well as DEC does additional reviews, or they have the ability to come on site at any time. You have reports that are also distributed monthly, as well as the Audubon International. They're on site now. They do come and they're completing monthly inspections. And then the Dutchess Land Conservancy, in connection with the open space and the conservation space, will do yearly inspections. Once all the construction's done, there's always the concern of, well, nothing is going to be maintained. Aside from the fact that Discovery does maintain their property, and they continue to be a partner in the property to maintain the property and to keep their name quality. There's also the yearly inspections by Audubon, Dutchess Land Conservancy, and as well, the SWIP will provide a maintenance schedule that will need to be adhered to for the entire project, throughout the life of the entire project. Not just construction, but above and beyond. And then past that, the town also has the right and the ability to come in and maintain any stormwater management practices or a basin that's overgrown. But you don't have to worry about that because Discovery is going to always be there.
Thank you, Amanda. Hopefully that wasn't overly technical. It was a lot of effort by a lot of consultants from the planning board and our team. I think they've done a great job. So I've been asked a lot when I walk around the community, so what's happening now? Why do I see construction? What's going on there? Are we building houses? What are we doing? So back in, I believe, August 2013, we got the okay from the planning board to move forward with the construction of 5 holes. Those holes were 18, 10, hole 17, and 11 and 16. Then thereafter, later this year, actually beginning of this year, around April, we received the final approval also for the remaining balance of the golf course. Right now, the work you see up in Delaware Hill, that's the practice area. Then you have hole number 1, 2, and 3. And those will be predominantly the holes that we're going to be working this year. We'll probably be doing the back 9, or I guess 5 next year. And also, once all this area is stabilized, we'll probably do the lower portion of the front 9. You'll probably be able to see 11's already been grassed. It's actually growing now, so we should be able to finalize that hole in the next month. 16 is in the same condition as well as 17. 18 we're working at the moment. Hopefully we'll get it grassed next week. And 2 weeks from now, we'll probably have 10 as well grassed. Thereafter, we'll work on having the practice area done. So essentially, all those holes will be completed and grassed this year. With hole 1, 2, and 3, we'll have all of our earthwork completed before the winter, and hopefully we'll stabilize it and get it ready for winter so we can finish it next year. So where are we and what are the next steps? So today we're discussing the amended special use permit, the master development plan approval, as well as phase 1 site plan application and preliminary subdivision plan approval. That includes the process happened where we made our original application back in October 2013. We received comments from the planning board consultants and we submitted it back again in March 2014. Thereafter, we worked diligently with the town, with a lot of the planning board members, as well as their consultants. We submitted a revised application back in July, and the application was finally deemed complete in August. Today, we're here for the public hearing. We hope that we get our final approvals from the town between September and October. And after that, we still have a lengthy process which will include all of our state and county permits, with the hope that we can start construction for the development in spring 2015. So with that, that's the whole presentation. I thank you all for listening to all of us. And I think I'm going to turn it back to the planning boards and I guess the public comments as well. Thank you.
All right, we're going to get started here real soon. If people don't want to, if they aren't comfortable coming up to the front to speak on the mic, you're certainly welcome to submit whatever you want for comments in writing. So tomorrow, for the next couple of weeks, whatever you need, write up what you have to write up and submit written comments. If you can't get up to speak, we've got a microphone in the back. You're welcome to stay in your seat, and the microphone will be brought down to you, so let us know if you're in that situation. I think that pretty much covers it. Okay. We're going to limit the comments to 3 minutes for each person, and we'll go from there. Okay?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just a point of order, if I may. Did I understand you to say that you will permit written comments for the next 2 weeks?
Well, all right, Bart, let me, after we get done with the public comment, we'll make a decision as to exactly how long it's going to be. Or if there will be. Let me hold off. I'm sorry, yeah. Okay? Okay, the first speaker is Ray Leary. Is that correct? Okay. Elaine Mabella.
Mr. Chairman, is the microphone coming to me?
No, if you can come up front, please, to speak. I'm sorry. Yep. Sure will. Yeah, I did it earlier, but for the stenographer, this is being, we have a stenographer tonight, so if people want down the road, you can also get copies of, or get the information, you can review the information that the stenographer is writing tonight will be available in the town hall and also in the library eventually. Going back quickly, I introduce the members of the planning board. At the far right, we've got Dave Evers, who's our town attorney. Larissa Delango on the end of the table, the planning board secretary. We've got Tony Robustelli, Peter Clare, myself, Joe Fontaine, Bill Kruger, John Ditsanopoulos. You got the spelling on that one, or no? And we've got Eric McEnroe and Nathan Roy. Okay. Elaine, of course.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
No, we don't hear the microphone. Go up there.
Hold on.
It's on, it's on. Speak into it.
Test, test, test. Can you hear me now? Test, test, test.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. My name is Elaine Labella. I'm the Director of Land Protection for the Housatonic Valley Association, 19 Furnace Brook Road in Wassaic. HVA is dedicated to preserving and protecting the natural character and environmental health of the Housatonic River and its watershed, including the 10-mile river here in eastern New York. I have submitted written comments. I'm going to do my best to summarize in the time allotted. First of all, we don't object to this development conceptually. It could benefit the town and help to stimulate economic opportunity and growth. Also, the applicant should be commended for agreeing to permanently conserve several hundred acres of forest land. However, we find that the proposed master development and site plans fail to adequately document the potential water quality impacts of the proposed project. The town of Armenia has enacted good, common sense regulations that safeguard streams and rivers, protect the groundwater upon which most residents depend for their home use, and encourage development in locations that will enhance, not degrade, the beauty and natural health of the community. We believe that the planning board should require the applicant to redesign specific portions of the plan that are inconsistent with local ordinances. First, we are troubled by the number of waivers from local and state regulations the applicant has been granted or is requesting. The engineer mentioned earlier the waiver from the construction activity permit from the state DEC. The Town Conservation Advisory Council did observe an issue with the sedimentation during a thunderstorm earlier this summer when the sedimentation and erosion controls failed and sediment-laden runoff entered into Armenia Cascade Brook. Perhaps if less acreage was disturbed, the erosion controls would have been more closely monitored and maintained, and the sediment release could have been prevented. Other waivers being sought include development on steep slopes, roads, driveways, and cul-de-sacs that exceed maximum grade. The board's own consultants identified these problems in their analyses of this project. Development in the absence of sufficient stormwater controls, especially on steep slopes, could increase the transport of pollutants. We ask that the applicant provide a complete stormwater management plan. As the applicant's engineer earlier indicated, the estate homes are not designed in this plan. The new homeowner will have a lot of latitude about what stormwater controls may be implemented. For the planning board to be able to assess the complete stormwater impact of this proposal, you need to see all of the areas developed. Furthermore, the applicant wants to have the new homes exempt from a minor site plan review and have the building inspector sign off. But that doesn't provide you the opportunity to do an assessment of new homes in context of the entire development proposal. We ask that the applicant hire an independent inspector, I'm wrapping up, to report to you on the progress of the development. We ask that the planning board ask the applicant to create buffers along the golf holes, along water courses. It's been done on the Jack Nicklaus, the Concession Golf Club in Bradenton, Florida, and it looks very nice in your written comments. We ask that the planning board consider extending the hearing so that you can hear from your own engineering consultant on the stormwater plan, which, as you all know, is very complex. And I think the public might like to hear what the engineer has to say at one of your regular meetings. Once again, this is a very complex project. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments, and we do hope that you keep the public hearing open. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person is Craig Powell. Is that correct? If you could state your address.
Sure. It's It's 223 Smithfield Valley Road. Thank you for the meeting. I'd like to thank the planning board for the opportunity to speak and question. I'd also like to thank the folks in Discovery for a very exciting presentation. I'd like to thank the Irish contingent for trying to dramatically expand the diversity in our community. And I'd like to also thank those people who I hope are going to be able to afford it. There was a lot of mention about family, and I'm very excited for the families that are going to come and enjoy this wonderful creation of yours. But I didn't hear anything about the families of our community and the impact it's going to have on our lives. So I'd ask the committee to consider a few things. The first of which is, of the 175 jobs that are claimed to be full-time, to find out if those are only after the project is complete. I'd like to also know if those jobs are going to provide a living wage, or the minimum wage. And I'd like to know what kind of career opportunities there are for the local people. Because I'm concerned about the families that live here, not the families that can afford to come to your wonderful project. The other concern I have, apart from the environmental impacts that are being raised, is during the construction phase. Of the 3,100 or 3,200 employees that are going to descend on our community, the impact on the community and our families' lives during the construction process. We've got traffic, noise, light, and other pollutants. So I've asked the committee to think about these things in addition to the actual geographic and conservation-related topics, because I do think it's important that the community derive as much as we can, given this opportunity. We will not have a chance to do this twice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Doyle. Mark, state your address.
My name is Mark Doyle. I live in 330 South Media Road in Marseille. And what I'd like to say is, I think this project is a very much better fit than the prior application, and we're thrilled to see all the improvements and the reduction of impact, and ultimately the great investment in our community. I have a number of comments. Behind houses, or as I call them, they're named the estate houses on your plan. Trying to go back through the documents, which obviously you all know, you've been working with them, such a myriad of documents, but it seems to me that there are 10 of them that are not included in the March secret process. And reading further, I see that the reason for their location there is that they are required in order to make the project feasible, economically feasible, that is. And I just want to say that having been through the planning process with the zoning and comprehensive plan for many years, I think profitability wasn't necessarily foremost on mind when it came to feasibility. It was more technical feasibility. So if in fact we're talking about feasibility being the key requirement for these high estate houses, then we probably need to explain in great depth what that requirement is, what the economic details are of that in order to make public, satisfy the public inquiry. I also, as far as those, and actually particularly the houses in the vineyard, I'm concerned about the impact of light at night. So, yes, we're going to have the dark nights, outdoor lighting, but that's not the only lighting. There's window lighting in our houses, and that's, of course, blind or partly both. So, what is that lighting impact going to be like high up the mountain? If you look at the visuals, those houses in the state area are actually more than halfway up the mountain. They're really pretty high up relative to the people around. So I'd like to know what that nighttime light impact would be like. As regards to the stormwater I think that overall, in particular actually this point, I'd like to say one group that has not been commended this evening is our town consultants who have obviously spent many hours working on this with you guys and with the applicants, and should be greatly commended for their hard work. But the stormwater plan, I think that one of the key things to focus on is clearly the reduction of runoff, as well as the quality of runoff. There's been great emphasis in the plan on the water quality of runoff, not so much in actually making the reduction of and slowing water runoff. So when it comes to saying that individual homeowners are going to have a fair amount of latitude in designing their homes, no, we have to, at the initial stage, during the creation of the subdivisions and the roads and all the land design phase, make sure that water is in fact made to infiltrate the ground so that you don't have. So lastly, I talked about subdivision. Want to make sure that the process remains open, whether it's through this public comment process, which I would like to say open for both verbal and written comments. I haven't had a chance to do it myself, written wise. But for another 2 weeks, the subdivision plats, to me, do not look complete. I don't see the detail that would ordinarily be on a subdivision plat. So we will not really dispose of on those. But lastly, I want to make sure that promises are kept, particularly environmental promises. So, we were looking at, again, stormwater runoff. Let's make sure that great plan really does come to fruition. Does Audubon International really do stormwater planning? They are typically, golf course designers, and they are.
I don't want to cut you off, but I got you guys move on. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Andy Gerber.
That goes 2 minutes. Okay, first of all, Andy Dover, 37 Parkville, will say it. I'm going to keep my comments very brief tonight, and there's a couple of good reasons for that. One of the reasons I think I should mention is that I think not only is this project extremely important for anybody that has embarked on trying to analyze, look, review, do their own investigations, build a picture of the project. I would suggest that that would be almost impossible for the regular person. It takes an awful amount of time. And I mention that because I've heard a lot of comments out and about, as we say, that a lot of people have found it either difficult to find all the information they really want, not able to access it as easily as they would like, and some of it still remains a part of a missing picture for them. So I think on that basis alone, and given that, part of the basis of SEPA, as I see it, is those two important words, quality review. And I think if we're to have a quality review of an extremely important potential project here, we need to make sure that everybody's had adequate review time. So I do think my first point is, I ask you if you could please extend the open hearing time for public comment in whatever way possible, whether that be an additional session or whether it be further comment period or written comments. I do suggest it would benefit greatly. Secondly, the other general comment I have is really, as much as we are all involved, we live here with residents, and as much as I thank you, all planning board members, for your endless hours I'm sure you put in on this project already, and working on our behalf as volunteers, that's great. But the people that I want to thank, especially here and put on a pedestal, are the consultants. The consultants to the town are our safety net. They are the experts in their field. They are studied, they are practiced, they are licensed, they get relicensed. we cannot diminish the importance of any information that the consultants present to you and to the town. So I think any changes and dilutions to their comments, or if we question their comments, which we should still try and look at how important those comments are, who they're coming from, and put an exceptionally high level of importance on those comments. Those are two general comments. I look forward to having more time to comment on details. But the last comment, I believe, my session here is, I know that the current work on the golf course, in many senses, is not part of the plan that we're reviewing today, but I think it's an indicator. And my concerns are that the current work on the golf course, a number of people driving down Burnham Hill right now have questioned the loss of view, albeit from moving traffic. And how does that configure within the Scenic Protection Overlay District? So if you read the Scenic Protection Overlay District, just the opening phrase, it doesn't say that it only covers a view from a particular destination or in a particular destination. It talks about the general concept of that overlay district. If some of the grades that are set right now are to remain, that's lost view. That's lost value, and we're seeing erosion already. Now, if that's an indicator of of adding more on top of the current grades, we're going to lose even more view. So I want to just put that on the radar for now, and if you could give that some consideration at some time. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Arlene Juliana.
Especially in this last decade, there's been a lot of growth. I look out my own backyard and can't believe what I've got growing. And I know that tree management is a major issue in the USA today, and rightfully so, environmental issues. On the other hand, it's overgrown, guys. And I think that up in that area, it never was like that until maybe a decade ago. You can't really see full panorama of the viewpoint from Delaware Hill, which is an icon view in the county of Dutchess and has its role in the state of New York. I hope that just the pictures you had on the screen tonight, the ones we take in first, show a lot of growth on the left-hand side. I know you're supposed to be putting something there in that elbow area, right? So people can look versus a viewpoint pull-off, which I'm sad to see go, if that's indeed going, because that was where you could see. But that's going to be tough, because in order to really see and maintain the viewpoint, that median is named for, that is literally, you're going to have to cut down some trees and manage tree growth. And I'm sure that people in this town who would like some of that wood, if you can can be done to a greater degree on visibility than looks like is on the plans that are available right now. Okay?
Thank you.
Keep it in mind. Thank you.
I can't make out the last name, Dee Vincent from Railroad Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, since the temperature in this auditorium is not getting any cooler, I'm going to waive my right to public speaking and submit my comments in written form.
I apologize for the lack of air conditioning here, but that's what I've got. Sharon Kroger.
Sharon Kroger, I live in Leesville, and I work with the Wasatch Historical Agricultural Crossroads Group. I want to make 2 points, but before that, I want to ask the board to please extend the comment period. Most boards do this when you have a complex situation of this kind. And to just talk about 2 weeks only is not enough. One of the difficulties is the fact that most people's computers can't handle the complexity of the material the public is supposed to be able to use. And then the public isn't really getting enough time to do what it needs to do. So I would request that you all extend that period at least a month. And I want to just remind everybody who just saw what happened, because some members of the press are here. You just saw the chairman of the master plan committee being told that he had to stop talking because he had spoken already 3 minutes. Now that was really something that's a matter of record in this situation, and I hope everybody takes note of that. Okay, my 3 points. In 2010, the state made the stormwater requirements, the new ones, and came up with a manual, which is it's burdensome and difficult, but it's very important. And if ever there was a situation for which it was designed, it was deal very well. And so I hope every board member has a chance to look at that manual and see what the unique opportunities are for retention of water. Because your goal needs to be that the water gets held and then it percolates down into the water table. And that should be one of your goals. That's one of the reasons the town has to here. My second point is that in looking at the very beautiful pictures you showed us, and they are commendable, I felt there was inadequate recognition of the ecological surroundings of that piece of land. You could see the paradise, but you couldn't see quite what it was nestled up to. And that brook that you mentioned goes into something called the Amenia Stream, which runs quietly down the whole valley. And it's part of a wetland system, it's part of a river system, and it's part of an aquifer system. And all of the wells for the folks who live half a mile downstream in Wasatch have to drink that water that's whatever's being added to that stream is part of the complexity of what they're going to be dealing with their wells. Now, I didn't see anything. I admit I haven't read every single word that's been put out, but I haven't seen anything in writing that deals with this. So I hope you're all sensitive to that question. My third point is, and this is a memory thing, about a decade ago, maybe a little more, we had another golf course designed on the other side of Rattlesnake Mountain, and it was really frightening and excellent, but it never came to fruition. But the planning board of that year did a number of things, one of which was it asked the folks who were planning the golf course to give them a list of all the chemicals that we're going to use in the golf course. Because part of what we're concerned with as a board, it's not just the rainwater runoff and the road runoff, you're concerned with all the chemicals that are coming down the mountain for whatever reason. Now, the list that they obtained in that era,
Yes, Sharon, I have to ask you.
I hit the 3-minute point.
You're over actually.
But I just want to say they took off a couple of chemicals because there was a professor from Cornell that went over that with the board, and they chose which chemicals should come off. Because this is what's going to go into the watershed for wells of the end. Thank you.
Kevin Sutton.
Hello, board. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'll be submitting brief comments. I agree with what Andy talked about the long period. Just think that it is complex, and I can't even begin to get the things in 3 minutes. And it's a little bit of leeway because I can't work from notes. You know, my condition from the sun in the end, 22. About the board giving waivers for environmental reasons. New York State DEC, they are second to none in their zealousness to safeguard the environment. And whether you waive something or not, they can stick their nose right back in on their own. When you give somebody a waiver, they look over that and decide whether they're going to challenge that or not. So I think some of the environmental concerns, I think have already been met. Some of the arguments might be specious. I mean, the state has beginning to buy some chemicals to put on the plants anymore. Kind of fertilizers, the free chemicals, the phosphates, they don't even do it. State doesn't even allow that anymore. Are around saturated with it. Anyway, that's the environmental issue. I don't think we have to worry about New York State DEC letting us down. We have the strongest regulation, and I think only California has regulations that exceed ours. And they're not going to give up their responsibility just because you guys, the little town board, give them a waiver. That's not going to happen. They want to get involved, they will. And if they see a threat, they'll get involved. They have done this in the past. 2, the reason for Sunset Ridge, I think some people are worried about development. I think you need to understand that this town has undergone 20 years of deep development. We lost 4,200 jobs in the economy as 3,500 of which were good blue-collar jobs. The gentleman said, I hope these jobs pay a living wage in Sunset Ridge. I could agree with more. I would hope that such a rich development could afford to pay people a good salary so that these 175 jobs are good jobs that we can stay with for life, support a family on. But the de-development of this town for the last 20 years, if we started at 100, we're down to like 20 now. If we get Sunset Ridge and 5 more bowling courts, we're still maybe at 35 or 40% of where we used to be, or what we need to support this town. Good blue-collar jobs so that people can earn a good wage, buy a house, volunteer for the fire company. Because all these new tax revenues from Sunset Ridge, if we lose the volunteer fire company, it's all going to be a net loss to us. Because we have to have anybody really argues on that fire district get to see when they went professional. If they find out, besides just in the lives, but these guys save us. We talk about our budget having to increase 2 or 3-fold in order to cover professional fire company. Now, what's the basis of our volunteer fire company? People who can live and work and get a good wage, good jobs in this town. Which is why I think the salaries of the jobs is very important. Let me hear more about that. So that this town can prosper. Because, like I said, this and other projects, we're still down a huge percentage from where we were. And this is probably because of my limit. So I'll
Good job.
go right next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. David Melton.
I'm going to make it short and sweet. I want to thank the planning board for having an open hearing so people can speak about this particular project. I'm also gratified to see all the residents of Ravine come down and voice their concerns. So you guys all have to have, you've got a big job in your hands. I'd like to see the youth on board too. I've been a proponent, I've been in favor of this project since day one. I think the one thing some of your residents may be misunderstood about is, and what I happen to like about what's going on from day one with Settle Ridge, the group, They're open, their office is open. If you have a question, you can go and talk, answer any question that you have. And for me, if they're going to build this mining community, I will be behind them 100%. Just go and ask them questions, I'll answer the questions. As far as what Kevin just said, and a gentleman sitting next to me, 175 jobs in our community, maybe I won't have to feed so many people. I hope you guys do the right thing. Thank you very much. Brian McWater.
For the record, I hate public speaking. It's Brad Overall, 464, old to 22. I'm actually a third generation of this community. I actually used to swim in the Cascade Brook. My mother told me not to because back then it was polluted. In 1972, as a matter of fact, the village of Millerton decided that they no longer could use the sewage disposal system they were using, that happened to the brook. So they cut off the main line going into the Cascade Brook. I am in favor of the project. My children are in favor of the project. They're excited about the possibility of having jobs. They're both college graduates, and so they're looking for jobs. I believe this is not the first time that this project's been talked about. I believe we've had consultants, and they've all done a fantastic job. They're well-educated people. They know what they're talking about. But I feel at this point, the devil's in the details. You can look at something so much that you can forget what the benefits of the project are. And I hope this does not happen, because I see this as an opportunity for growth in the community. Thank you.
Jane Underwater?
No comment.
No. Lawrence Levin?
Lawrence Levin, I think from the Union Road. Just on the procedural issue, I thought we were supposed to have 14 days notice of the proceeding, which I think was not given publicly, and many of most of the applications that were to be reviewed since March meetings were not available 14 days prior to the proceeding either. I do hope that we will extend not only the written comment period, but also I suggest perhaps have another meeting on Saturday when notoriously steep slopes, and that the houses upon them, I think, should be reduced. There should be further regional impact mitigation. This is a rural area, and I think that we should, I hope that you as a planning board, as well as the Southbridge people and the Stratton people, keep in mind our master plan, which was, I think, very well put together. It took many years to come together and has been very well thought out. There are reasons for the steep slope requirements. There are reasons for these buffer zone requirements. We are all very concerned about the environmental impact as well as by the visual impact. So I do hope that when you consider some of these applications and waivers, that you will take into consideration the comments of the specialist here and some of the residents of the media. Thank you.
Thank you. William McGee.
All my questions are already answered.
Okay, thanks. Bruce Stalker.
I'm Liz Faulkner. I live in the Smithfield Valley. I've been there for over 20 years. I guess my primary concern, really, is that the town adhere to its stated desire and promise to protect the rural quality, the rural character of our town. That's my understanding of what the town wants. I think that's what the media wants. And it seems like the density of this project, the amount of houses, the scale of the project is really going to make it, and the consuming traffic and noise and pollution is going to make it more of a suburban town. And I'm sorry, but I have to address the way we were addressed just now as a community by Silent Village. The last I knew, our historical heritage was agricultural, that this is a community of people who have worked on the land, and the varying services and jobs come from supporting a lifestyle on the land. I'm not sure that fitting in has to do with playing on a golf course. So I was just a little bit taken aback where we're being presented with an image of something for our town that doesn't seem to really fit what this town is. So when this project was first proposed, I'm not against development, I'm not. I'm concerned that in this day and age, where we are at a point where we're aware of environmental pollution, we're aware of energy needs, that it be done as sensitively as possible. And I hate to be a tattletale, but I have read that project of Discovery in Baker's Bay was responsible for destroying, or nearly destroying, one of the biggest coral reefs in the Bahamas. And I don't know if now they have mediated that, but I'm asking you with all my heart and soul, because as Arlene has stated, and we all know, that hill and that view is our soul. It's the soul of our town. It's what everybody, when they say Armenia, is what they mean. That you be very diligent every step of the way and make sure that they adhere to everything they are saying. Right now, I feel there's a difference between perception and reality. And I think if any of us do our research, we can find that out. This is a contemporary proposal for a kind of economy that supports a certain level of leisure, which our town, we're about agriculture and small families and small jobs. Why don't we have a sewage treatment facility that will allow our
Walter Brett.
I also would like you to extend the period, so that I may be able to write a few things to you. We really haven't had enough time to go over all the material, really wasn't enough time. So I ask that you do that you extend the time for us to write or to speak further if we need to. I have a couple of comments, just a couple. You have a treatment plant which is in the green buffer, and I don't understand why it's there, technically, but can it be put down on Route 22, maybe in a zone for commercial? That's one comment, and also the number of houses that are going on high on the slope. It looks like there's an awful lot of houses up there. And it can be seen, it can be certainly be seen from the rail trail, from Route 22, and other people have commented about Delaware and not being able to see a view of the valley. I hope that that's maintained as well. That's the comments that I have for the moment. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Kermit Friday.
Good evening, I'm Kirk Brody, I'm the Undersheriff of the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office. I was sent to speak on behalf of Sheriff Anderson and the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office in about this project. We're 100% in support of this project. One thing you can say about the Silo Ridge team is over the last 10 years of working with them and discussing various impacts upon the community, as NASCAR Dave said earlier, they're open, they're honest, and they're willing to work with you. From a law enforcement perspective, we're comfortable with this project and the impact it's going to have on the community. I'm a 22-year veteran of the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office. My first 3 years were spent out here patrolling and coming back. The impact that this project is going to have on law enforcement is minimal, and it's a positive impact. It's a positive impact for the community as well as it is for law enforcement. Sitting and talking with the sheriff over the last several years about this project, the sheriff's a proud resident of Dutchess County of Zion. He's a lifelong resident, and proud of the Harlem Valley. And looking at this, we look at it from various perspectives as Dutchess County residents and as parents. And to echo some thoughts that were portrayed here tonight and said here tonight were about our kids. I'm fortunate enough to have two beautiful girls, 14 and 18. I want them to continue to live in Dutchess County and work in Dutchess County and raise their families in Dutchess County. A project like this in a median, and a median can set the tone for Dutchess County, will allow our kids to stay here, live here, work here, and raise families here. And the Silo Ridge team is according that opportunity to families in Dutchess County. As a Dutchess County resident, the sheriff and I looked at this project and we said, wow, Median has a great opportunity to make this project go forward. And that's going to be a snowball effect throughout Dutchess County and allow other big projects that are on the table to move forward. So again, we support this project 100%. We appreciate the group of Silo Ridge and their openness, and we appreciate the town and the board and the work you're doing on this project. Thank you.
Pat Milligan.
I'm in favor of the project. I wasn't in favor of the original, so we've come along. And as Mark pointed meaning that the secret process needs to be done again. And you're avoiding that issue. If you proceed without doing the secret for all the modifications, this is not the same project, you're going to have some legal trouble. Won't just be me, but you'll have others. The thing that really bothers me is that here are these venture capitalists. They're going to make a ton on this project. They bought it for peanuts, sure. At that time, and the amount of money floating out there right now, they're probably going to have to use much of their own. They're giving the town, which the town board approved last week naively, less than the cost of one of their least expensive units of the 222 for workforce housing. Less than one of their cheapest units, under $500,000, to fulfill their workforce housing requirement. That was one of the biggest things in our zoning for development studies. The town's doing SWAT. Now, I'm requesting at least 2 more hearings where you divide up the waivers on one hearing, preferably the second, and the special permits subdivision on another hearing. Then, 2-week period. It should be at least 6 weeks for everybody to know all of this is going on, not cram it all down into us, especially the procedures you can follow, which are illegal. So, I'll take care of the action against the town. If anybody's interested in joining me in action against the board, if they proceed in a rapid fashion, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Nina Peets.
Would echo the sentiments of a lot of people that have spoken here tonight. I respectfully request that you extend the comment period for this. And in addition to that, there is a very peculiar restriction on the documents that are posted outside of the receiver, which prevents them from being printed. And as a result, even if you have a really good reader at your office with a humming processor, it still takes a really long time to download or even look at any of the documents. And it would make it much easier and much more available to people that live here if those documents were available to be printed out. So I would respectfully request that you remove whatever security provision has been provided. And I guess what I sort of want to talk about is the planning board has 2 primary responsibilities. The first responsibility is to ensure that applications that come before you comply with the law. Right? Pretty easy, right? And it's not just the town law, but it's also state law and federal law, county regulations. The law that we have in this town was written by people that live in this town. It was reviewed by people that live in this town. It was adopted by people that live in this town. So for the planning board to consider waiving the requirements of that law, you need to have a really, really good reason to do that. And you need to document that reason. And this project is requesting in excess of 10 acres for all sorts of things. But in addition, you have made some decisions already that have been processed through the town board that also circumvent the law. That includes the provision of workforce housing and how that calculation is made. It includes things like noticing requirements for the steering. It includes distribution. It includes the secret process, which has not at all been followed. There was a notice of this meeting in last week or this week. It includes a subdivision plan that's posted on the website that is substantially incomplete, that you have deemed complete. And something particularly troublesome in the subdivision plat is a note that's very small, but pretty much indicates that no meets and bounds have been done, no survey has been done. Any utilities, subsurface, obstructions, or even surface structures that are encountered during construction are the responsibility of the contractor. The applicant has made any responsibility of the location for those, what happens when the contractor runs into those, and I don't think that there's any there have been many administrative planning board meetings that have been held at Tyler's office, where planning board members have attended, the town's planning board consultants have attended, and decisions have been made. And without the benefit of the full board, and without the benefit of any public input, you probably didn't even know they occurred. There were many meetings. And in the absence of that, how are you to be able to make informed decisions? And how is the community able to know what's going on? I mean, it would be extremely helpful if you could release all comment memos that have been provided by our council, so we can look at it. Yeah, I got it right. So two primary responsibilities, a lot of which seem to have been sort of minimized and pushed aside. And I find that is extremely troublesome. And I'll just close with one final thought. There is no visual impact analysis of the wastewater treatment plant, the structured parking that's proposed to be on the site, the maintenance facility, and no analysis whatsoever of what is known like at night. So I would be very concerned that you can make an informed decision about the visual impact of this project without having to ask the question. Thank you.
Victoria Alexander. No. John Rayner.
Hi, Darlene Weaver, 604 Smithfield Valley Road. I was chairman of the wastewater committee for 15 years, and now on the committee. Early on, when Silo Ridge came to us, we talked about partnership with the wastewater treatment plant, and it was bantered around. It was going to be on Delaware Hill on the north side of 44. And it was going to be worth about $2 million for us to hook up to that, but the cost of us getting there was enormous. It was like $12 million. So in the interim, as things have developed, we in 2008 worked up a memorandum of understanding to do the payment in lieu of workforce housing. The workforce housing is housing for people who will live here and work here, and young families starting out and elderly retiring here. Back in 2008, that memorandum of understanding was over $600,000. We're in the year 2014, and the payment in lieu of workforce housing has diminished to $400,000. And I don't understand how that happened. I think it needs to be revisited. I think a partnership of some sort could be developed, and we look forward to having a lively downtown, a lively community to balance out the project at Silo Ridge. So I hope that gets revisited and a partnership could potentially be worked out in the future. Thank you.
Benjamin Schwartz.
Hi, I'm a resident of 405 Shire Station Road, and I'm a founder of the Passaic Community Farm. I've been farming in Hamlet, Passaic for the last 7 years. And I'm just here to advocate for the Passaic Creek, which we use to irrigate our fields. And I'm highly concerned about the runoff to the creek and viability of the farm. If the creek becomes contaminated and now having to think about doing water testing. And so I hope that communities downstream, like Hamlet will say, are considered in this plan. That's my comment.
Mark Wu.
Here to talk about three issues. speak to you, if I may, not just as members of the planning board, but as custodians, effectively the last line of defense in maintaining the health and welfare of this community. In connection with water, you've heard probably more than enough, but it still is relevant as to runoff. What I'd like to address for a few seconds is the amount of water used. This project, although it has been convincingly demonstrated, is going to have fewer houses and fewer structures. The amount of water used is going to increase. It has gone from 120,000 to 128,000. The total amount per day is contemplated to be 225,000 gallons. The problem is the assumptions. The assumption for this water was based on 1950 study of the amount of water available. 1950s, when that was a farm and only had a couple hundred cows on it. Today, obviously, it is much different. I ask you to revisit the water issue in particular and determine not just whether the runoff is adequately addressed, but whether the water itself, there's sufficient water. Because if there isn't, it has irreparable damage to the rest of the town, particularly the park downtown. Incidentally, I'm hearing here as a contiguous landowner, I did not receive notice. So I'm serving notice now that while I am hearing and making comments and using vital time, I am not waiving my right to object to the failure to receive that notice. The second issue is light. Now, I speak of light not in the context of the light that is the result of the light lamps themselves, but again in the context of the view. The view that has been outlined universally, and the view that was shown on the screen as the primary view, is that from the hill, from what is proposed to be the vineyard cottages. By the way, there's no such thing as a cottage in the accessory manual. So this is not a house that's either consistent or a structure that's consistent either with assessment or with Dutchess County, and certainly not with a mean. What I'm talking about is there are assumptions that you were going to that damage that is going to be done is going to be mitigated by certain factors. What those factors turn out to be is burn, relocation of trees, new trees, the erection of, forgive the term, of 5,000 square foot building called a winery, and the construction of parking places for 37 cars. Now close your eyes for a moment if you want, and imagine what that really takes. Basically, that's from the door of Freshtown down the Santos over to the northern door of Tractor Supply. Approximately three rows of cars is the amount of space. Imagine transplanting that on the curb on the Lower Hill, along with a 5,000 square foot structure, and telling me, or anybody else in this room, that there's adequate, continuation of the most valuable view, if not a median, certainly in the county. In fact, there could be mitigation in a variety of ways. There is no such thing as mitigation for lost view. The third point I'm addressing is air, not in the sense that you think of, but in the sense of financing. You've heard about what financing is in the general sense. We are delighted to hear that Discovery Land has appeared. But what you don't know is whether there is sufficient financing to complete the project. This is like a dream where you get to close your eyes and imagine what it's going to look like and how nice it's going to be. It's a closed dream, so you can't actually enter it because it's only going to be for the people who live there. But it's a dream. And a dream, imagine what that dream is like when you put your hand across the bottom part of that great image, all you see is the sky or the top hills. The problem with dreaming, the benefit is you get $9 million. I'm asking that you consider that factor, that what happens when you wake up from that dream. I'd like to reserve the rest of my comments and offer them by way of comments following the meeting. Thank you very much.
Kevin McKay.
Kevin McKay from Smithfield Valley. I'm here in the spring for the presentation, and this presentation today in the same room very much the same, but I did notice one major difference that I thought I would like to call attention to, and that is it was said back in the spring that there would not be any building on the upper ridge, and it was said quite emphatically. At this presentation, I did not hear that, and so my question to the town board is, has that changed? Have you given permission to build on the ridge?
Is there anybody that came in? Is there anybody that came in and didn't get a chance to sign up and wants to make public comment?
Yeah.
Could come up. Just give us your name and your addresses.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ed Rowley, and I'm from Millbrook. I have watched this process and its potential project for over 10 years. I was actually surprised that Kirk Ferrari said he knew that this was going on for 10 years, because he's so young. Rightly, everybody's concerned about this, because this is a beautiful view. It's a marvelous view, particularly if you come from Millbrook, coming down onto the side. Everybody should rightly be concerned with that view. Recently, we had a project in Millbrook at the Old Bennet College, where in a lot less area, 100 houses were proposed. And the planning board approved that project. If it wasn't for the fact that a very wealthy entity in Millbrook decided to derail our project and bought it, and now making it into a park. Now that's a home run from Millbrook, and that's the kind of home run that park ever get. So you're stuck with making this decision. I have 3 reasons why I think this is important and I'm in favor of it. One is what I just mentioned. The possibility of something like what was proposed in Millbrook is actually a possibility here too, if this is turned out. Secondly, the expertise that's required to go through these regulations. It's unbelievable. I understand what everybody's frustrated with: water, jobs, view sheds, traffic. Nobody can really understand it. You have to have a team of experts on both sides. And you, gentlemen, are basically set up as a court by secret, and the process is adversarial, just like in a court of law, where both sides present their side. They really do care. In a situation like that, just about everything comes out. If something hasn't come out by now, something big and bad, it probably doesn't exist. I think we need to read this to the experts, even though it might be frustrating to say, well, you know, I still think there's going to be some more water and so on. And third, this is America after all. These people have owned this property for over 10 years. They have diligently and fastidiously pursued their dream for all this time. They've stuck with it all this time. They've changed a number of times. Economies have changed. They have spent a lot of money. They followed every regulation they felt had to be followed. I think they have a very, very nice project. It's possible somebody would design a nice one. But in my opinion, this is a wonderful project. I expect to come over that hill, and yes, I'll see some buildings down there, but I still see the street beyond. So I respectfully submit that you approve this proposal. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that came in after the sign up and taken away that wants to speak? No? All right, at this point, I spoke with each of the board members, I think except for one, Nathan Roy, prior to the meeting, and the consensus was that the public hearing is going to continue for a 2-week period until September 18th. I want to mention that decision was made before any public comment was made, so that you can hopefully provide some kind of comfort to people that have concerns. We weren't going to extend it. We are doing that. We did it without the input from the public. And that'll also allow the 2-week period for submission I was talking about earlier for additional written comments. So we'll resume this hearing September 18th at 7 o'clock, same location. And people wish to make additional comment or referrals or make comments, and we'll also accept in writing that same time period for written comments.
Did you say September 18th and then it will be another 2 weeks just to written comment?
No.
Like past that?
No, until September 18th, and then written comment, and public hearing will be continued on September 18th.
Meaning we'll have another one of these.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Silo had asked if they could, Bart,
As a point of information, I want to submit written comments only into the close of business of some board, or can it be sent in electronically by email? And if so, would you be kind enough to provide those details?
yeah, if you submit in writing, I'm going to ask you to submit 10 copies so we can circulate properly. If you submit an email, that's all you have to do is submit an email, and then it can be forwarded to the people in the instructor from there. What do you have an email address?
Can you hear me? No. All right, it's Delango at amediany.gov. If you go on the website, you also find it there, and you can put on it and email it from there.
The request for time, when, by when, is it closed?
No, it's open until the 18th. Or what time on the 18th? I would have until 7 p.m. on the 18th for written comment.
I'm sorry, for those of us who have a podium between you and what you just said, could you repeat the email address?
It's L, that's loud, Delango, D-E-L-A-N-G-O, at amediany.gov.
Okay, we told the staff and fellows we often ask them if they want to respond to their comments. Does the board want the audience right at this point? Anybody object to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No? All right, at this point, we're going to go ahead and not close the meeting, but we're going to go ahead and put it on hold now and reconvene on September 18th.
Could we also, there was a comment regarding the accessibility of the information, so be sure that there's plans and all the necessary documents, and
Right.
town office and available.
But all the materials are in the library. They can be seen down there, all the materials. They're also here at Town Hall and be seen here. As far as the internet access or the website that Silo has, we don't control their website, we don't control the ability for their documents to be printed. They aren't required by law to have them available to be printed. That's their discretion to use. It's available to be seen and copied the library. Yes, sir.
Once again, just standing up on a point of order. But I'd like the board to recognize that even when you try to access some of the schedules, you get a 404. What that means is it's not accessible. So while I would like to see it as printed, the fact of the matter is some of them are not. The second point is I greatly appreciate your keeping this open, but inasmuch as it is so difficult accessing it, and I must confess I have a walker computer, I would ask that you request of the developer that they perhaps will allow the printing of these documents for a relatively short period of time of 2 weeks. Thank you. It will help in terms of responses.
Can somebody from Silo speak to the issue related to the ability to view the document and download it? Sure.
Go to the first issue of the ability to print it. Well, the printing and also just downloading the material.
Yeah, so all the materials are going to be downloaded. We will be double checking with regards to the report for the issue. We've been trying to ourselves, make sure we can download it and go through the documents, so there's a substantial amount of documents. With regards to the ability to print them, a lot of the documents are not our documents, are actually documents prepared by engineers and others. And we've had in the past issues where some of the documents have been manipulated and changed. And that's the reason why we are, holding the ability to print it. However, you can download any of the documents and put it, use your computer and just look at it how you want. You would have to do that actually when you print documents anyway.
You can't print if you download.
No, I know you can't print. And they said the reason was other documents are not ours, are engineers and others. And we've had a past that issues where documents are being manipulated from PDF and modified. So that's not the reason.
That's not a printing issue, I'm sorry.
Correct, but if you can
That's not a
print
printing
it,
issue.
correct, but if you can print it, if you modify it, make it print it, you have a document, then to the extent of doing the documents, I welcome anyone to come to our office. We have an extra set there as well. And we do have another copy machine. But if you want to make any copies, you can stop in our office and look in this office.
We just respectfully request that anybody that has a full-time job not get to town hall, nor can they get to the library in normal business hours, nor can they get to your office during normal business hours. So it would be in the best interest of full transparency and disclosure if you made these documents fully available to the people that want to review them.
Okay, we'll discuss it with council and our engineers as well.
And I'll also review with our attorney and with our secretary as to what can be done to make it more accessible. I mean, I'm not a computer person, so we'll do the best we can as far as making sure that it's more accessible. Anybody else?
I guess I would also probably just mention that you never actually opened the public hearing. You never had a motion and you never had a second.
Anybody else?
Just going back to the issue of printing documents, anything that was submitted to the town is now a public document. So whether or not there are any issues between the applicant and his consultants really doesn't concern the public. If it's submitted, it's public. So there shouldn't be any reason why a member of the public shouldn't be able to print it. Thank you.
We're getting into the debate on that, of course. I don't want to that work. So this one, I'll go ahead and we'll maintain until September 18th. We'll continue with that one.
I wasn't exactly sure what time it started, so I looked on the calendar and it didn't say it was on here.
The background.
Yeah, so I'm beginning to ask you all, just to make sure there's some of this. No. I
He just
looked at
came
the agenda
for the
after.
public, he's saying.
But of course, I get the agenda. But then I looked at the calendar first, for whatever reason, and it's on the calendar.
All right, we'll follow up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to tackle it, I'm just suggesting that we make sure we get some numbers.
We'll make sure it's on the town calendar. Thank you.